So our 2025 Anaheim 1 Supercross review. Let's talk about our initial thoughts here because there was so much going on that like it's hard to just like kind of break down everything that happened. Came up with a few notes here during qualifying, like during Q2 especially. The Jet, the Chase, Eli going back and forth, top of the board. That was insane, bro. I really thought we were gonna have like an insane night, but like battle between those three.
Well, we didn't.
We definitely didn't.
I didn't get to watch Quali 2 because I had to go to a 10-year-old's birthday party. But I was texting my acquaintances trying to get updates on it. I was just excited to see not Jet at the top. I was kind of worried it was just going to be Jet and he was going to be like 3 seconds faster than everybody. And that was just going to set the tone for the whole year.
What's actually kind of surprising and kind of crazy is Tomac topped the board. So I really thought it was going to be Chase after that lap that he put down. And then Tomac 10 seconds later went to the top of the board. And Jet on the final lap put it into second place. And he probably should have got first because he slid out on the last corner and lost a couple tenths. But yeah, I'm honestly surprised Tomac got it. Like, obviously Tomac is flying and stuff like that. But I didn't expect him to be right there with Jet's time. Like, you know, Jet from last year, dude, he's always top of the board basically, right? It was very interesting. You know what's also crazy too? 4 through 11 was all in the 104s. That's insanity. Stacked. Yeah, that's
pretty
insanity.
Insane. Mike never really does, especially opening round, never really comes out swinging like that. You know, he's kind of very mid in the opening round. So I'm really excited as a Tomac fan, seeing him with crazy speed at round 1. Yeah.
Your freaking preseason rankings. Your preseason rankings might be right, bro, Loki. Another initial thought I had was the track layout was trash. I personally didn't like it going back and forth between the starts and stuff. I definitely didn't like it. I don't think the riders liked the start. Very mellow of a track. The long rhythm was kind of not necessarily sketchy, but definitely tricky during like the race and during qualifying and stuff. But I thought they could have done a better job with just how they laid it out. But
no, it wasn't very good. I mean, I feel like A1's never really very good. You know, they always try to make it really mellow. This wasn't necessarily mellow. This was
it's just
odd.
Weird, man. Like the start, just how the start was super weird. Because if you're on the outside, you're basically getting like 10th or worst, right?
Yeah.
Unless like you're Malcolm in the LCQ on a factory bike, boy, everybody. But that's like just Malcolm, right? So like, but I mean, even the inside gate. Think about what happened to Jet on the start. He got banged bars with Jason, and it led right into a tough block. So not the greatest.
It was the greatest, but I'll wait to share my thoughts, but it was pretty awesome.
Another thing, rookies looked amazing. Cole Davies looked fast. Avery Long looked fast.
Cole Davies was ripping.
Absolutely
ripping. Like, dude, looked so comfy too. I mean, in the heat, made a couple mistakes and then Deegan was gone, but it also wasn't like he just got a good start and then just got shuffled back. I mean, I definitely think in that he was absolutely the second fastest guy in that heat.
I thought he might have been able to lead a lap, but Deegan obviously passed him on that on-off section. But him staying within reasonable like distance for a few laps, especially at A1, I was very impressed. Also, you got to think about his main event, bro. He was dead last, I guess. Like, I didn't see that he crashed, but he was dead last, and he moved all the way back up to 8th for his rookie ride, A1. That's super impressive.
Deegan was at the end of lap 1, he was in, like, 19th or whatever, and Davies was in 22nd. So they were both buried.
That's crazy. Both of them made it into the top 10, which is super sick. Yeah, and then another thing for me, surprise, Prado looked pretty damn good, like, especially with only having few weeks under his belt. His starts, that was one thing that we talked about, man. Like, dude, his starts, they're the same. I didn't expect him to be that good on the Kawasaki, but both the heat race and the main event, great start.
I mean, you can tell he's not comfortable in the whoops. Like, really tell he's not comfortable in the whoops. I mean, he was jumping way earlier, like in the heat.
He jumped the first lap of the main event.
He was just jumping immediately. So obviously that will come, but everything else, he looked really good. Definitely can tell maybe wasn't used to the pace, you know, in the middle of the race. I mean, they were eating him alive, but he looked comfortable other than kind of being consumed by everything, you know.
And even in the heat race too, he got second, which is super impressive. He held off a couple guys behind him that were charging. I mean, he even beat Eli in that heat race.
Right.
I mean, he rode fantastic all night. Obviously, he made that that spill at the very end of the race, which kind of cost some positions. But
yeah,
overall, I think it's a great like first ever real season race for him, right? Because now he's officially here. So another thing I noticed for Prado, he's so crafty battling with people for his first ever race, bro.
Definitely put up a big fight.
Yeah, he's battling with Jason and Chase and even the guys. When he kind of faded back a little bit, he wasn't giving up. Like he would be cutting down, trying to make passes. He made a pass on Jay Coop that was insane. And honestly, that made me very excited for in the future.
I definitely think this is the worst we'll see him ride, you know, which if he was riding really well and will just continue to develop the bike and his what honestly it was really just the whoops. I mean, once he like if he was skimming the whoops and had the whoop speed and consistency in the whoops, he'd be like 7 positions higher than where he finished. And I think we would have all been super stoked on that. So
what was like your biggest surprise though of the night? Because I have a few, man. I have a few here. And but what was your the whole night, just the whole night, the whole day?
How mid the Lawrences were. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm not a huge Jet fan, but I gotta respect it. You know, he has been dominating the last years. Okay, but when I saw the Instagram clip of when they were making the perfect rider and he was just me the whole time, I don't know, brother. Like, kind of a tough look, and then just absolutely crumbled under some adversity.
But you actually even mentioned that in our preseason rankings video, that how will Jet handle the pressure? And coming in, I felt like he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders, just because like you even mentioned like in the post, like who's like the perfect rider, and he was like me, whatever. Like sometimes that pressure is going to get to him, and I think tonight was one of those nights. Yeah, the bike probably wasn't working that great, but I feel like you can still get better than a 12th.
Listen, this is the bike that they went to in outdoors, in the middle of outdoors, because it was so good. Suddenly now it's just terrible.
I don't know.
I mean, come on. Like, we can't be... The bike did look pretty terrible, I'm not gonna lie. Some of those coming out of some of those ruts, it looked literally like a pogo stick. I don't know. Wonder Boy's Wonder Boy, you know? I feel like 12th isn't very Wonder Boy-ish.
I even mentioned this on one of my posts, that him crashing in the sand is also a surprise to me. Like, you don't see Jet crashing. I know technically the start wasn't a crash, but you can still consider one. You don't see him having 2 incidents in a race.
Start isn't necessarily the thing that I would be critical of him about.
No.
It would be the crash in the sand, right?
The crash in the sand.
The start is whatever. I wouldn't be critical of Deegan. I wouldn't be critical of really anyone that crashes like that on the start. It's chaos. If you've ever done a real life race, it's absolute chaos on the start, right? And you're just hoping you don't die. But the crash in the sand was, I mean, that's all him. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, a lot of people are saying that like someone took him out, but he actually, from my perspective, watching the clip again, it looked like he just tried to make a pass into the inside of that sand, lost his front end. It stood him up. He went over, and I think it was Joey or Shane or whatever ran into the back of him after he already made the mistake. I think that one just falls on Jet, and that's probably a bike issue. I mean, go back to what happened with Chase all the time in that front end on the Honda.
Hey, he didn't front tuck. Yeah, it's true. I was waiting for it.
So yeah, definitely a huge surprise with Jet finishing 12th and Hunter finishing 11th. Hunter had the speed to be top 7 though, in my opinion, and then made a mistake in the whoops.
But again, I feel like even top 7 would be a surprise, because they're supposed to be like the GOATs, right? Like those are the guys that were 1 and 2 on the podiums every week, other than maybe Chase and Eli. I don't know. Eli was also behind Jet at one point in that race, and
he made it all the way back to 5th. That's what I expected Jet to do. I expected him to get into that top 10, even with the sand crash, because that sand crash happened on like lap 2, and so he had 18 minutes to get back into top 12 or top 10, and he didn't even do that. So
Tomac has surprising. 1 more lap. He's getting close to a podium too.
I mentioned this in the stream that I think what happened with Tomac is I think he used all of his energy pushing as hard as he did for that 17 minutes, or I guess 15 minutes, and then kind of just stalled out at the end, in my opinion. But even getting back to 5th after being dead last is still freaking good, dude. Especially in this freaking class.
Yeah, I think if Jet would have got back to like you said, 6th or 7th or 4th or something like that, I wouldn't really be super critical. Like, well, he's obviously dominant, but I don't know. That was pretty underwhelming. You know, I mean, we kept looking, my wife and I were watching, and I was like, yes, I was freaking out.
Everybody, my friends was too.
Yes, you know, we got to raise somebody else, you know?
Yep.
And, but I kept waiting right? Like, okay, well, any minute now he's going to be just blowing through everybody up to fifth or whatever, and it just never happened. And maybe it's maturity. I'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's maturity. He really wasn't comfortable, just kind of settled for where he was at, and just didn't want to crash. And sure, maybe that's fair. Maybe that was wise. I don't know how I can look at that after the little "I'm the GOAT" comments. Me. Pride before the fall. You know what I mean?
And I thought he was going to do great too, because I mean he qualified great. And then what's really surprising too is a heat race too. Like he didn't move up. Like he got 5th in the heat, and I'm like, Jet doesn't do that. So I was very, very concerned in the heat. And then when the main happened, I'm like, oh snap.
Even in quali, I told my wife that he didn't look good. Like he was over jumping a lot of things and just kind of looked off, or like he was pushing to try and go fast, where normally it looks like Jet's barely riding the bike and is like 9 seconds faster than everybody. This looked like he was really trying and was making a ton of mistakes, or he just really wasn't comfortable. And so maybe a lot of this is the bike. I just think it's diabolical to be yapping that much about how good you are if you already know the bike's not very good, because like, I don't know.
Another thing that surprised me, Dylan not making the main event. That was crazy, bro. I was so surprised by that. Another surprise for me was Justin Hill, bro. He rode fantastic and like qualified great. He did his heat race. He was great. And then in the main event, he got 8th and battling with Tomac, with Prado, everybody for like top 7, top 5. Like, honestly, that was one of my biggest surprises of the night. I think he just rode great. And he said he has more in the tank too, man, in his interviews. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, especially for being on like a non-factory team. Obviously Justin's always been incredible. He obviously did the sheriff side quest at one point and then came back. But I mean, like, it was a surprise because not factory, but not really a surprise because it's Justin. And I feel like, man, he is super capable. I think did not do the sheriff side quest, just continued, on factory deals. I think Justin would be, 3rd, 4th, 2nd place guy, pretty fairly consistent.
I wish I could redo my predictions and put Justin Hill breakout year.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean, Justin Cooper's still gonna have a great year, but like I feel Justin is gonna have a great year.
Yeah.
One of them.
One of the Justins. I mean, we also have to talk about the gigantic elephant in the room, which is Levi.
That's what I was getting into next. That is my biggest letdown of the entire day, man. Like, I really hope that he gets healed up and feels way better. Like, obviously, he didn't ride because of a sickness. Was... And I saw some videos of him in the pits, and he did not look good. He looked pale. He looked uncomfortable. And so I really hope that he heals up. But it was definitely still a letdown that we didn't get to see a Levi versus Deegan battle, right?
What's with RJ? What's with RJ and his little comment?
So I want to say about that comment, I want to say it's probably because we didn't know who was going until this past weekend to the West. I think that's why. Don't quote me. I don't really know, but I think that's probably why. But RJ going out there and saying, yeah, I kind of knew a couple weeks ago he was going to go with Dewey's. I'm like, you can't say that because everybody's going to speculate it, right? So I think it's because they didn't know officially who was going to go, but him saying that kind of is, like you said, sus.
I've seen a lot of Mitch Payton interviews. That was the weirdest Mitch Payton interview too. When they interviewed him, he seems so, what do you want? I mean, okay, and maybe he was irritated because obviously the situation sucks and he was probably getting hounded with questions, but he seems so short and like, what do you want me to do? He's sick. I don't know.
He seemed like he was
really
pissed.
Weird. Yeah. And maybe that was because of very valid reasons to be frustrated.
But the problem with that too is PC is always the team in my eyes that sends their riders out late to which coast they're going to go. If they knew that he was sick on Tuesday or Wednesday, which it really started to happen, why would you not just say, hey, you're going to go switch east and let me bring in Drew Adams already to A1? Because he knew on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that he was sick. So why would you even force him to ride Saturday? And why not, if you're not able to ride press day because you're super sick, why are you even going Saturday? Why not just already bring Drew in for Saturday and move him to the east instead of waiting to the day of?
Very odd, all of it.
Very, very strange. Yeah, that's definitely my biggest letdown of the whole entire day.
I was going to say, when that happened, I mean, I did say to everyone, like, okay, well, this is the freest chip for Deegan. I do still think, I mean, obviously I was wrong on my he's going to go undefeated.
However, I don't think you were like I think he would have probably won if he had a start. So
yeah, I mean, I think he will win the rest of them still. You know, I'm not like backing up on that. Joe looks pretty good. I mean, it's very strange. Joe looked extraordinarily mid the whole day,
and then turned it
and
up.
then in the main just was riding really, really well, which is super cool. I really like Joe. I was a little disappointed, you know, quali and then the heat race. It was like, wow, okay, Joe I thought would be Joe 2 years ago has completely disappeared, and Joe is now just circulating. And then he goes out and wins the main and is kind of ripping. Juju.
Breakout year, baby. Breakout year, baby.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Juju looking good.
Juju looked fantastic. I really like his patience and poise in the main event, not pushing when the track is kind of beat up and he didn't go over his head, make too many mistakes. I don't mind a second place for him. That first race, that was fantastic. Joe going out there and winning shuts up all the haters and critics of the slow start Joe that we've been saying for the last 3-4 years, which is huge for his confidence, I think, for next year, or not next year, but next week at San Diego. It's so hard to say it's dumb now because when we did our predictions, I had Jordan being one of the biggest letdowns. But without two factory guys in there, he's going to be like one of the top 4 guys now, right? So it's very hard to go back on my prediction there, but he rode great.
He did look really good.
He looked great. He crashed and still came back to third. Yeah. Like, he rode great. Got to give it to him.
He looked very comfortable, and the bike looked like it was doing really well. Even if he would have rode like that and still got 5th if Kitchen and RJ were involved, like, I still think he exceeded my expectations on how he rode, how he looked, and just kind of looked good. So, yeah, he's cool. I would be awesome to see him do well.
Yeah, and, like, when he went down, I was like, okay, so that's kind of normal for a Jordan thing. But then when he pushed all the way back to get a third, that's when I was like, oh, snap. Like, he's going to be in this for the end, right? He's going to be in it to the end, especially without the other 2 guys. Now, I think it's the 4 championship contenders here with you got Jordan, Juju, Joe, and Deegan, in my opinion. I think the other 2 guys, like Ryder D, he's going to have a great year, but I don't think he's a contender just yet. I think he might be able to get some podiums, though, after that ride. So,
yeah, it's the best I've ever seen Ryder D. Like, on a big bike, obviously. He was insane on littles, but on a big bike, that's the best I've ever seen Ryder D. I think, and I believe that that's the worst Juju we're going to see all year. And if that's the worst Juju we see all year, like, I don't know. I kind of think Juju might be up there.
I might have to change my breakout year to be a title contender year.
That's what I'm saying. He might be battling for some W.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about our favorite moments here for a second. My favorite moment, 250 start. That was wild. Like, everything that just happened, like Joe getting a start, Juju being up there. Obviously, my friends are Deegan haters, so everybody's going crazy for Deegan crashing. And then another favorite moment is 450 start. Holy crap, Prado, Chase, Tomac, and then Tomac going down. I was like, no way, bro. Couldn't believe that just happened. But
I don't know. It's kind of hard. I mean, trying to put a favorite moment, man, it was all good. I was really excited in qualifying from 250 qualifying when Juju top qualified. Really excited about that. That was really cool. I mean, obviously, I was a big advocate for him, but I don't know that anyone would have suspected anyone else other than Deegan to top qual. I mean, especially with Kitchen out, that would have been my one person that would have said could have out-qualled Deegan. That was really exciting. And then immediately after, for me, seeing Tomac top qual was equally as exciting because I was like, oh, dude, we got us a race now. The whole night was just awesome. So much carnage, but nobody's hurt. I'm sure Mookie's
definitely feeling it. Dude, he's definitely feeling it right now.
I'm sure Malcolm is sore, but he's all right. Race the main. We'll be back next week. And that was what was, it was just exciting. Everyone was crashing, tons of position changes. I have been very, very critical of Chase. He looked really good. Like,
he's back, baby.
Usually, in my opinion, when Chase wins, it's like he doesn't really look very good. And even when he's going really fast, he looks really sketchy. He looked really good, really in control. His bike looked really good. For me and like my family, our biggest excitement was, other than Jet and Hunter being shortly mid, was Kenny being second.
Oh,
Huge
yeah.
Ken Roxon fans. I saw a bunch of people when he qualified 14th. I saw a bunch of people commenting, Kenny's washed and all this stuff, and then have him come back and be second, and he looked racy.
And he won the heat.
Yeah, and he's just ripping, like just absolutely ripping. I love Ken Roxon, one of my all-time favorites, and I love Jason Anderson, probably my favorite rider. and he's ripping. And also, I am so happy after the little Instagram beef of him and Hunter.
There goes the camera.
What's that? Dude, it's the most shocked thing in the
Oh
world.
god, that's funny.
Hold on.
You're so right about Jason Anderson, Ken Roxon. I was so freaking ecstatic about that because one, the beef between Hunter and Jet, and him going out there and getting a podium, and you know that he had broken spokes in his front wheel off the start carnage.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane. And then Kenny, like you mentioned, qualifying 14th and then still getting a podium and winning a heat out of like. That's just Kenny, man. That's what Kenny does, man. That's just, we shouldn't expect anything from qualifying. If he qualifies 40th, he's still going to be on the box probably. Like, it's crazy. And then obviously, I guess another favorite moment of mine is Chase winning A1, man. Like, that is just so awesome. I'm a Chase guy. I predicted him to win the chip, and him going out there and like almost top quality, winning the heat race, dominating the main event. We're in for a good year, baby. We're in for a great year.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm kind of hoping, all right, well, Lawrence Brothers figure stuff out so you can at least be up there, you know, so we can have some races, you know. I don't want,
I think Jet finally figures it out maybe in a few weeks with that bike setup, but if it's too late, man, it's hard to catch points up if everybody's going great. So with all that being said, A1 was insane.
A1 was insane. I will say Tomac wins that if he doesn't crash.
I was thinking about that too. I don't know if he wins it as much as him and Chase go back and forth, but it would be exciting to see that battle take place. It would have been exciting. I think we would have been going crazy. I mean, we were going crazy off the start regardless. And yeah, I think it would have just been nuts. But the camera fell again. I think that might be a sign that this review is chalked. But I asked some of you guys in our Discord to ask us some questions while we're doing our review, and a few of you guys sent us our questions. So one was, I don't even know how you pronounce your name, but I'm going to say Joe. It says, do you think Levi went east for better championship reasons? RJ said he heard a rumor about it weeks earlier, kind of sus. We talked about this in the video already, but I think it was just because of the sickness that he went east. I mean, it is kind of sus that he mentioned that he talked about it weeks earlier. I think that's just because PC didn't know who was going east or west, but I don't think there's anything further to look into besides he was sick and should have raced west. Doc is fixing his camera, so we're just going to keep going with these. Fresh mentioned, why do you think Jet didn't come through the pack faster or even further up the leaderboard? And we kind of mentioned this too. We think it's just the bike setup. He didn't look comfortable on the bike. Very weird that he didn't do it though. We really kind of thought that he would be in that top 7, making a couple mistakes. The bike didn't look good. I think it was more bike setup than anything. Fresh also mentioned, do you think that Deegan rode his best, or do you think that he was taking it easier than normal because he didn't want to risk it at A1? I think he was still riding his best, but not to his full potential because of the circumstances that he had. Crashing in the second corner, breaking his visor, hair in his eyes. The track was sketchy, hard to pass. So I don't think we got his full best, but we definitely did see like some of those Deegan moments coming through the pack from going from dead last to 5th, which is impressive. But I think we're still yet to see his best. Shout out to Young Frosty. If Deegan doesn't go down, even with his mediocre start, do you think he wins? I believe he would win. Yes. If he doesn't go down, I think we both agree that he would have won the race. But those are our questions. If you guys want to ask us any more questions, leave them in the comment section below. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next review, or join our Discord for the SXMX Discord and ask them in there. So yeah, with that being said, shout to Doc and his webcam. It's not looking pretty, but if you guys enjoy this, make sure you guys hit the like and sub button, and we'll be back with a rider's rating tomorrow. So make sure you guys stay tuned. We're out. Peace.